October from Iowa, and I'm here at Nerdcon Stories, just kind of reveling in the magic of stories and books and amazing times.
This story is about my daughter Christina, and I went back to school when I was, in my 40s, and was going to school full time and had to drive an hour away for school, so my husband had to take care of the kids on his own, and we have 6 children, and she has a twin sister, and one night she got mad at her dad, and she hid from him, and he was desperate trying to find her, but she kept moving. She'd move from place to place on our acreage, and he couldn't find her. They called the sheriff's office. They were just about to call out the helicopters when they finally found her. And the funny thing about it is, when she was hiding, her twin knew exactly where she was the whole time, but wouldn't tell anybody.
She'd tell me when people were coming to.
So that she could go hide.
So I could move.
I'm Sarah, and I'm going to tell you the story of my first tattoo. So I turned 25 this year, and so my sister decided it was completely and totally terrible that I didn't have a tattoo yet. My little sister, I should mention too. So I had to think really long and hard about what I wanted, and I decided to do this quote that I had in a book. So this is a very appropriate story for Nerdcon. I had gotten a copy of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell when I was 14, and my aunt, as her last gift to me, had written in the front about how I should, as my tattoo says, keep the magic in your life, never let go of your dreams. And so that was my first tattoo, and my only tattoo probably.
So I road tripped up here to Nerdcon with a few friends, and we've been driving from South Florida to Minneapolis, and probably around 2 hours into our trip in Iowa, we stopped at a gas station, get some coffee, supplies, rejuvenate, get ready for the rest of our trip. And we get in and we get out of the car, and it was the first time that we felt the cold weather, finally. So we were very excited. My friend McKinley took out her phone to check where we were in the weather. Something like Ainsworth. So we go up to the counter. She asks the girl, "Where are we right now?" And she goes, "Denver." And we all look at each other like, what? Did we take a wrong turn? Are we in Colorado right now? But no, it turns out there is a town called Denver, Iowa. We were right. We did not take a wrong turn. We were still going to Minneapolis.
So once there was a porcupine who suffered from sex addiction. It was very difficult for her because she could never indulge in her addiction, since anytime she would go to a club and try to meet up with somebody, her quills would always poke whoever she was dancing with, which is very unappealing. Ladies just know that we don't like getting poked a ton. But then one night she went to the club and she met up with this turtle guy. And they really hit it off. They had very complimentary personalities. And then he asked her to dance, which of course she was tentative. She was scared. She didn't want to drive him off by driving a bunch of spikes into his. I started dancing. The porcupine could feel the quills pressing into him, and she just readily apologized. And the turtle asked, "What are you apologizing for?" She said, "Can't you feel the quills?" And he said, "No, I've got the shell. It doesn't hurt at all." And with that, her eyes just shined like a firefly's ass. And then they went home and indulged in her addiction 7 times.
Hey, I'm Max, and I'm here at Nerdcon Stories, and I'm just going to tell the story of how we adopted my little sister. One day, my parents just told me, "Hey, we're adopting a baby from Guatemala." It was a complete surprise to me. We were in a Chipotle when it happened. And just a couple months later, we flew down there, and we met this little baby in the lobby of our hotel. It wasn't her. They had brought us the wrong baby. A couple hours later, they were sure it was hers this time. Again, not the right baby. Third time, they finally got it right, and we got got to stay with her for about 4 days before it was time for her to go back to her foster family. And then about a month after that, we actually got to bring her home, and she's been with us ever since.
We drove up here from Florida, and we have a friend who's been to Minneapolis before, and she told us, you know, when you guys drive
She
in.
hasn't been here before. We heard they had a famous skyline. So we were driving down the interstate and we saw these bright lights and we were like, oh, that's the skyline. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. I was like, film it, film it.
So we're taking pictures because it looked gorgeous and like the lights were twinkling. It almost looked like the Emerald City, but everything was like white and twinkly. And then we got closer.
As we come up on it, I see smoke coming out and I was like, oh, there's a smokestack. And I was like, is that a plant?
It was like this huge power plant or some sort of factory. It was not the Minneapolis skyline. And it was really, nobody knew.
But it was really pretty.
But it was really pretty.
My story is about this time I went skiing. It was spring break, and I was skiing in Montana. And it was kind of warm out, and the snow was like a little sticky. So I decided it would be a good idea, because I was kind of like getting hot in my coat and stuff, to just like take off my shirt and ski in just like my sports bra. And it was like weirdly the most freeing experience I've ever had, ever. I raced down this super long run, like, and it like, the wind against my bare skin was really cold, but like amazing. And you know, I got like a lot of head turns, which was kind of weird because I mean, like I like drawing attention to myself, but not necessarily always in that way. But yeah, and I kind of like hang on to this like freeing feeling now because I like skied without a shirt on, and it's super random. That was the first story that came to my mind.
What's the difference between a watermelon and a baby? One's fun to smack with a hammer and the other one's a watermelon.
Last year I went to Playlist Live and I was sitting on the ground talking to my mom because I was really nervous and I didn't know who to talk to. And Tomska came over and sat down on the ground with me and my friends and was just like, hey. And I didn't really know who Tomska was, but I knew of him. So we just had a conversation and then he got up and he's like, I gotta go. Talk to some other people, sorry. And I'm like, you're the nicest person I have ever met.
It was one night during Les Mis. It was a small theater, so we had exactly the amount of room we needed, and everything was scripted down to the inch. And during one scene change, I had to run behind stage in complete darkness and past a bunch of pieces of scenery to get placed behind another one. And one of the things that you sometimes had to watch out for is if a piece of scenery wasn't where it's supposed to be. Well, it was completely dark, I wasn't watching where I was going, and I caught my shin on a platform break. Went flying head over heels and like slid a good 5 feet before coming to a stop, leaping back to my feet, and then going to push the piece of scenery into place. And after that, my role was mostly done for the night, so I went and I sat in the break room and wrapped an ice bag around my shin because it had swollen to twice its size. When I eventually got it x-rayed, I have a perfect dent shaped like a platform break in my shin. Perfect.
The story I want to tell begins in a bookstore. I was wandering the aisles of books upon books with my friend John, and the power went out because it was storming so hard. I got a phone call from my mom. She said the storm was really, really bad. We had a tree fall in the house, that one that's by your room. We're just gonna try and figure out how bad it is. So I went home, only to find that my closet was in the basement. I lost my favorite flannel, and that was the moment when it hit me that I lost everything. I thought I lost everything. So it was just my whole life was there, crunched into the ground by a tree.
Okay, so there are two whales in a bar. One whale says to the other, and the other whale says, shut up, freak, you're drunk.
So I was sad, and when I'm sad, I go to Fairy, who's not named Fairy. And I was like, tell me a story. I want to hear a story. I'm sad. So he just comes up with this
Nonsense.
It's all like 6 text messages sent at once. I was just like walking around. My dad had a condo at the time, and the condo had a pool, so I was just pacing around this pool with my phone in my hands, texting about a porcupine with sex addiction.
And then he goes, tells his mom about it. She posts it on Facebook.
Yep.
And then he draws art for it.
Then I drew art for it. Not very descriptive artwork. It was just like the porcupine.
You do the fan art for your own story, Lucas.
Oh, that would not be good with that story. That would be really gross.
Porcupine turtle slapstick.
Oh yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, exactly. Shellfish.
No.
That's got to be a thing now. Shellfish.
We're not. No.